Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another little radio video. Today is August 23rd, 2021. It is 02:15 UTC, or 9:15 p.m. here in Southern Illinois. I should say a hot and humid Southern Illinois. Heat index around 105. It's crazy. But in this video tonight, I want to talk about my Icom IC-R8600 receiver. This is not going to be a full review or a demonstration video. There's plenty of those. This video is, I just want to talk about what I like about this radio, what I don't like, what I think Icom could have done better, little things that annoy me, little things that just frustrate me. But again, these are just, my personal opinion of this radio. I can't speak for everybody. What annoys me, someone else may find perfectly fine. I just want to give you my experience with this radio. So I purchased this radio on August 30th, 2019, so just 3 or 4 days from now I'll have this exactly 2 years. Overall, it's a very, very good receiver, but for the price, Icom could have done some better things. So we'll get to that later. But it has a very nice display, although I think Icom could have put a bigger display on it. But it's a nice display. You can really customize your waterfall there. If you want it bigger, you can just touch the expand button, make it bigger. To enter the frequencies, you just tap and enter the frequencies. Now the frequency does have to be entered in megahertz. So you can't just go 9420 enter. You have to do 9.420 megahertz. This is the voice of Greece. And it's a very solid receiver, let's put it that way. The alignment from the factory is dead on. I put a signal meter on it, frequency counter on 10 megahertz on the reference frequency on 10 megahertz, and it was exactly on 10 megahertz. I've done it on 20 megahertz, exactly on 20 megahertz. I went up to the VHF UHF band. On our weather is 162.425 here. My frequency counter is set exactly 162.425. So it is very rock solid when it comes to alignment. The frequency you see is what you are on. The sideband has good reception, has a sharp and a soft filter for sideband. You can customize your filters. You have 3 presets, but you can also customize it by holding this down. And you can do bandwidth right here, and then you can take your tuning dial and just widen or narrow those filters as much as you want. It has twin passband tuning, 1 and 2. You can set your backlight, a lot of customizations. RF gain, bass, treble, squelch. This dial here is for your scanning speed. You got, you can lock the front, scan, timers. It does something like 2,000 memories in different memory banks. Kind of tricky to do at first, but once you read it, the manual a couple times, you get it, then it's no problem at all. Here's your menu, scope, scan, memory, record, settings. In the settings, it just opens up a tree system kind of just different things to set. This quick button, you can do quick recording, meter type, you can change different things, exit. This is your speech lock button. Tuning knob has 3 adjustments. a clicking type adjustment like Sangean has, or a smooth and free, which is what I have, or a slight drag. I like mine smooth and free. You adjust it by a little lever that's underneath here. It's really hard to see. Has a memory card slot. I think it will go up to 128 gigs, I believe, and a 32 gigabyte. The 128 is my internet radio. 32 gigabytes, and you can record what you're listening to on this radio onto the memory card. You can also, once you get all your settings done, you can back all your settings up to the memory card. That way, when they update the firmware, I should say if they update the firmware, or you have to do a reset or something, you can just load your settings right back and have all your memories right back where you were, your display settings. You don't have to try to remember all that. The signal meter has different ones. You just touch it and you can see it change. dB volts, EMF, dBm, and then back to your normal. You have 3 antenna inputs. Antenna 1 is for 30 megahertz and above only. Antenna 2 covers the whole range. And antenna 3 is an RCA jack. I have my loop on that. You have the preamp, attenuation, the IP plus, which helps with kind of overloading. You can read it in the manual. AGC has 3. It's slow, medium, and fast. Notch filter, on, off, or automatic. Noise blanker, noise reduction, and duplicate. That's for, I never use that function. It's for just different things for amateur radio stuff. You have a lot of tuning steps. You can touch the tuning step. You have all these, but you can customize one too if you want to make it your own. You have the time up here. You touch it. The top is your local time. Bottom is your UTC time. You can plug this into your internet router or modem, and it will set the time automatically for you. You can change your antennas right here. You have your mode right here, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Some of that's annoying, but I'll tell you why. You've got you got your span. You can set the span of how much waterfall you see. You can hold it, center, and fix, which means right now, when I tune, you'll see the whole waterfall slide. If I do fix, then this will turn to a color you set, and you'll see a pointer move. And of course you can expand the waterfall. A lot of customizations, like I said, a lot of things you can do in the menu to tweak this. Has a USB port right here. You can hook it up to your computer. I don't use that function because if I want to do any decoding or whatever, I just use my RSPDX on my computer. But you can do that if you want to here. You can set your timer. You can set your lock. You hold it, and the radio stays on, but the display goes off, and you can turn it and it won't tune. Just bring it back. Just push it once and it's back. Power button. You can turn on in the menu. You can press this real fast, and you can take a screenshot of what you're seeing right now. And again, your dial C, that controls your pass band tuning, your backlight, and these are for your memories and your banks. Memory channel dial, lock, and this comes on when you're receiving a signal. And these two here for your scanner. So all in all, after having this radio and using it for 2 years, I rate it about a 9 out of 10. Maybe 8.5 out of 10 for me, but closer to a 9. And if you want to know all the functions that this radio has, you can go to ICOM's website and download the owner's manual in PDF and read everything all this does. It's really, it does a lot, let's put it that way. There's not much about it I don't like. It's very, very sensitive. Shortwave band is amazing, but you have to remember, with this radio or a portable radio, it doesn't matter. The kind of reception you get is based on the antenna you have and how much local noise is around you. If you live in an area that's heavily populated with a lot of electrical noise and man-made noise, no kind of receiver, I don't care how expensive, is going to make a difference. No, a $10,000 receiver is not going to make a difference with a lot of noise. If you live out in a rural area like I do and I have big antennas, this radio is going to shine. It has a very good noise reduction and it has an effective noise blanker. But you put a good antenna on this. I'm using an Alpha Delta DX Ultra inverted V dipole. I also have a DXE magnetic loop from DX Engineering, used to be a pixel loop. And on antenna 1 I have a dedicated Discone scanner antenna, Discone, 430 megahertz and above. The display looks very nice. I keep mine a little on the dimmer side because I don't have a big light on when I'm just listening to it. Headphones sound very good through it. All the colors are nice. The text is razor sharp. There's the performance wise, I can't really complain at all for performance wise. Some of the things I do not like and that annoy me is this is a communications receiver. Shortwave, amateur bands. Well, your clock, your main clock on the front, is your local time. You have to tap it, and then you'll get UTC time down here. Now why, and ICOM could fix this with a firmware update. Shortwave uses UTC time. Why not have UTC time your main display clock and your local time as a secondary clock? And also, why don't they just put a menu option in there under clock and you can select which one you want to display on the front, or you can turn a clock off? Why don't they do that? I don't understand that. Also, the touchscreen thing, it works good. I have not had one bit of trouble with the touchscreen in all the 2 years I've had it. But I'm not a big fan of a touchscreen on a radio. I think that if you see my external Icom speaker here, I think this radio should have been at least that wide, and instead of having to tap this and enter your frequencies and stuff like that, it would have been nice to have a numerical keypad over here and an enter button, plus where you have to tap the mode, and if you want to go to a synchronous AM, you gotta tap the AM again, and if you want to sync in the upper or lower, you gotta tap and hold it. You gotta tap and hold for sideband. If you want to go to sideband, tap it once, then tap and hold it to go to upper or lower, and it's a lot of screen tapping and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not a big fan of that. They could have put a numerical keypad over here and put mode buttons right here, AM, upper left side, lower side, CW, FM, whatever. They could have done that. It doesn't have to be so small. Plus, with the buttons over here, they could have moved the tuning knob over, had a bigger screen. This is a 4.3 or 4.5. I think it's 4.3. Why not even have a 6-inch screen or 5.5-inch screen? at least have the screen go from here over to about here somewhere. Put more real estate on there. You know, not everybody has 20-year-old eyes. Why does it have to be that small? So the clock thing is an annoyance of mine, and the radio itself could have been a little bigger, and it's just, it's just one of those things that, and like I said, the touchscreen is just kind of annoying because you don't want to keep touching a screen all the time to get something done. I'd rather just tap a button. But, it is what it is. And once you use it for a while, you get used to it, and you just do it. You don't think about it that much anymore. And that's where I am. Now, if you're an amateur radio operator, it doesn't have, I think it's DMR or whatever, or one of those modes it doesn't have. And one thing that does gripe me on this is it doesn't have an onboard CW decoder. Why can't you have a CW decoder? That, CW's been around for over 100 years. Why can't you put a CW decoder on this radio? And so no CW decoder. No, you can't select what clock you want displayed, either your local or UTC. A lot of the touchscreen business, the touchscreen is good, but it's kind of small. I think it could have been bigger. The whole radio could have been a little bigger. That's kind of an annoyance for me. But it works good, and you get used to it. The reception is good. Sideband is good. You're dead on frequency on sideband. It has onboard decoding for RTTY, stuff like that. I don't really use all that stuff too much because I just mostly listen to shortwave stations. Another annoyance is, for the cost of this receiver, Icom could have done a better sync detector. It works, it's functional, but it's nothing to write home about. It works better if you sync it on the upper or lower side, because this has 3 syncs in it. You can sync it on upper side, lower side, or double side. The double side to me is kind of pointless. You're trying to get away from interference or find the best side of a signal. Why do you need the double? But it's there in case anybody wants it, because sometimes I guess it could be helpful. So it is there. But the quality of the sync detector on this could have been better. It seems to lock, it stays locked, but when you hit the sync, and a real good sync, if you just turn one number off, it'll squeal and heterotone and all this. This one don't. The sync just flashes until it locks again. And sometimes it doesn't make a big difference in the sound. And then sometimes it does. It all depends if you're doing upper side or lower side. But it's one of those things. It's there. It is useful. It does seem to work some. And you can get some improvements out of it if you play around with either syncing upper or lower side band, maybe playing with the bandwidth or the pass band or something. You can make it more effective. If you just expect to turn it on and a miracle thing happen, it's not going to. These are dual buttons or dual knobs. If you just turn it, you get the volume. If you press it, you get the menu. Same way with these. You turn it, you get your pause, hold time, and you touch it, you get each one has its own thing. But other than wishing there was it was bigger and there was a keypad with dedicated mode buttons and stuff over there, and being able to pick which clock you want displayed, and no CW decoder, maybe the screen being a little bit bigger for old guy eyes like I have. At 55, I don't have 20-year-old eyes anymore. But again, that's just little nitpicks for me that may not bother anybody thinking about getting this radio. And again, that's just me. I can't speak for everybody else, but it's a very solid radio. I have not had any problems with it. In 2 years' time, it has not glitched. The software has not locked up. It's been rock solid. Like I said, you can customize your little signals there, the color of it. It's it's a pretty good thought out receiver. Just a few things I think Icom could have done better, and some of that they could fix with a firmware update. They could add CW decoding with a firmware update. They could do the clock thing with a firmware update. And make it easier, because this has firmware. You can download and update the firmware when Icom releases it. So far it's 1.35 or something, I think, what this is. They don't seem to update it very much, but it's a good radio. I mean, when it comes to performance, I can't complain at all. And it does a lot of things. It's a very powerful radio. There's just a few little functions of it that I think Icom did stupidly. And my personal opinion, I wish it was a little bit bigger, but it's not. And I've been using it for 2 years now. I'm used to it. So, that doesn't take away from the functions of the radio. And there is absolutely, even with my big antenna, and I have to mention this, with my great big Alpha Delta inverted V antenna, I'm 4 miles away from our local medium wave station 1340, and I do not have any bleed through of the AM band or the AM station onto the shortwave band. I don't have any FM breakthrough, any medium wave breakthrough, none of that on this. And I'm not running any high pass filters or nothing. It's just, it's very good at blocking. I think it's got some pre-selectors built into it. And once you get out of the medium wave band, you don't have to worry about bleed through. Even down on 2.5 megahertz, which is WWV, with my big antenna, I don't get medium wave bleed over. I don't get FM bleed through up in the aircraft band. Now, the upper frequencies on this, the aircraft band, the police band, they do work very well. They just seem a tad less sensitive than my unit and scanner, but that's to be expected because a unit and scanner is designed for that purpose. This is a wideband receiver, but it still does a good job. I have no trouble hearing aircraft. I have no trouble hearing, the local police and fire and emergency around here. I have no trouble hearing our weather service. So it is rock solid all across the band, and there's no frequency bleed through, no FM radio bleed through, or breakthrough, I should say. So I think it's got some internal pre-selectors in there that handles that, and it does a very good job. Again, the signal is dead on frequency. It doesn't drift. It doesn't move at all. Whatever it says on that frequency, that's what you're on. Sideband works extremely well. It doesn't take, you can tell when you tune in sideband, you're dead on frequency on sideband also. CW, same way. It does your FM band with your local FM band, so you can listen. It's not stereo. I think it's stereo through the headphones, but it's only mono because there's a little speaker up here. But I have 2 big speakers. You can see one there and one there. And I've got it going through an MFJ 616 speech intelligibility enhancer because my ears aren't what they used to be. So it has good sound. It's got good punch. Like I said, you can record what you're listening to on your SD card. You can back up your settings. You can plug it in and control it on a computer if you want. This speaker does not come with it. You have to get that separate. But to me, if you want the looks of it, then get that. But if you want sound quality, get a bigger speaker. This one here, these two here are 6-inch round speakers, and they're optimized for shortwave. And they sound a lot better. But yeah, it's a good radio. I do recommend it. I can't say anything real bad about it. Just the things I mentioned I didn't like are just annoyances for me, but that doesn't diminish the function of the radio and the quality of reception and the quality of it working and how good it is. It's just ergonomics and user annoyances, or user annoyances, let's put it that way. But as I said, you get used to it, you work around it, and you do it and don't even think about it much. After a while, it just becomes normal. Tuning knob is very smooth. Can't turn this up right now because they're playing music and I'll get a copyright, but it's a very sensitive receiver, but it's got good selectivity, good filtering, and yeah, it's a very good radio. I do recommend it, but just it's like anything else. There's no perfect radio. There's nothing perfect. Everybody's going to be annoyed with something, and just those few little things, the clock, no CW decoding. You know, the screen could be a little bigger because of my, eyes aren't what they used to be. And, but yeah, that's just all annoyances for me. But I never touch the screen. I use one of these. It's like a stylus pen, but it has a felt tip. That's not going to focus, but it's not a rubber tip, it's a felt tip. And that way I don't accidentally get any smudges, or because every time I use it I make sure my hands are really clean. But I always use a felt tip anyway, because it's just easier to come in here and do something than it is, trying to come in here with your big finger, and my fingers aren't that big. But yeah, a very good receiver. I recommend it. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube about different functions, how they work. This was just a little video of my thoughts on it. So, if you're considering this receiver, it is a good receiver, but there are a lot of portable receivers out there now, and SDRs that hook to your computer that are just as good as this, and in some ways maybe better on certain things for a lot less. But if you don't want to use a computer to listen to your radio, or have a box hooked to your computer to listen to your radio, and you want a tabletop model, but you want the functionality of an SDR, because that's what this is. This is an SDR. It's a computerized radio, SDR computer radio in a tabletop box with knobs. That's what it is. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds and not have to worry about looking at a computer screen and stuff like that. So other than that, if you're thinking about it, just read all the reviews you can, watch all the YouTube videos you can, and download the owner's manual, read it, and make your decision. Just be aware that you might find some things that are kind of annoying, or a feature is left out that's important to you, or something like that can influence a decision to get a radio. Plus, again, as I said, look at your location. How much local noise is around you? Do you have a high noise level, a low noise level? Because if you have a high noise level, an expensive radio with stuff is still not going to help you, But anyway, that's just my little rambling review. I know I missed a lot, probably. And but anyway, thanks for watching, and I appreciate spending a little time and trying to get my channel back up after it was hacked, and I lost almost 5 years of videos, which is aggravating, but that's just the way it is nowadays. But again, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.